On today's Primetime Local News, high school students from around the region gather in Lloydminster for a track meet. And what you should do if you encounter a bear this long weekend.
That's when you kind of want to make yourself known. Hey, bear, let them know.
Plus, 6 Lakeland wrestlers are named academic All-Canadians.
It just shows that our kids are getting it done in the classroom, but also in competition.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
After a 2-year hiatus due to COVID, students from 7 different schools got the chance to go outside and exercise. Holy Rosary held a district track meet yesterday, and kids were more excited than ever to practice their skills. Our Shelby Clark has more in this week's Beyond the Classroom.
Let's get out the start rider.
Students in Marwayne, Kitscotty, Dewberry, J.R. Robson, and St. Jerome's from Vermilion, Paradise Valley, and Holy Rosary High School participated in the meet. Every school was allowed to bring 3 competitors in each event. The top 3 athletes in every event would then move on to the zone meet next week in Bonnyville.
I think everybody was just so happy that this season we get to do everything. We get to have districts. We were at the comp meet last weekend. We'll go to zones next week and then provincials in a couple of weeks in Medicine Hat.
Many of the students involved, like Elkin Ekator at Holy Rosary, say having track and field back is fun since last year was boring without it. Now he got to show off his skills by participating in over 5 of the events.
So I did the 100 meter, I'm going to do a 200 meter, I'm going to do a 400 meter, I just did the 800 meter, I have high jump, long jump, and shot put.
Unlike Elkin, some students needed time to adjust back to track and field after 2 years of no practice. But even then, all of them are grateful to compete once again and be able to represent their school at provincials.
Yeah, it's really fun because like last year we didn't even have an event or anything. I mean, new people from different schools, Vermilion, Kitscotty, new people every day. It's really fun. I got to introduce myself, talk to them. I was like talking to some of them before my race, and I wish them good luck. Yeah, it's really good.
Like even just smiling faces in the classroom, we know firsthand how participating in sport brings kids together, gives you different relationships, helps with every single thing, and it's so nice to finally have that buzz back again.
And that's it in this week's Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students are challenged to go beyond the classroom, so when industry knocks, they're ready to thrive. Learn more at lakelandcollege.ca.
With the Victoria Day long weekend coming up, residents may be heading out of town for the first time this spring, and that's led the Ministry of Environment in Saskatchewan to issue a reminder to be bear aware. Around this time of year, bears are starting to wake up from their winter hibernation.
They usually have kind of a long Sunday morning coffee break in front of their dens for a while, and about now, kind of in May, start moving around looking for food.
This biologist we spoke with says a lot of Saskatchewan is bear country. As long as there's tree cover, there could be a black bear nearby.
Of course, in our northern forests for sure, but extending southward into the parkland through places on the South Saskatchewan River Valley, the Coppell Valley, Touchwood Hills, Moose Mountain area.
With temperatures getting warmer, people may be out camping, hiking, or barbecuing, and their chance of encountering a bear is higher as the animal is out looking for food.
Their whole life is really about getting enough calories to be able to make it through hibernation next year. So food is a very big deal, and if we can manage attractants in our yards, campsites, you name it.
Some tips to make sure you're not attracting bears include cleaning off grills, securing garbage cans, bringing pet food inside, and taking down bird feeders in the summer. Bear attacks are rare as the animals are usually timid in the presence of humans, but there are some tips to keep in mind if you encounter a bear.
Make yourself known. Hey, bear, let them know. And it's best if you're hiking, be in a group. That's always great, and be talking, and that lets the bears know you're around. And if that bear keeps approaching, that's when you kind of maybe want to find some cover, get in your vehicle if you can. And that's when you'd want to get your bear spray ready if you have. And we do recommend that people carry bear spray when they're hiking or recreating in the forest or in bear country.
Aggressive encounters can be reported by calling 1-800-667-7561 or pound 5555 with a SaskTel cell phone. As I'm sure we all know, the Battle of Alberta begins tonight, and there's no bigger Oilers fan than country superstar Brett Kissel. Stacey Comer spoke with him today about his current tour and asked him for his predictions for playoff hockey.
Brett Kissel is joining us today, all decked out in his Oilers gear, excited for the Battle of Alberta. Brett, thank you so much for talking to us today.
No, hey, the pleasure's all mine. And sorry if you can hear some background noise. I'm in Peterborough, Ontario right now on my tour, and the band is just on the other side of my dressing room, and they're rehearsing. But I wanted to talk with you about the Battle of Alberta and center field and catch up and everything. So thanks for making time for me.
Well, Brett, first of all, we got to congratulate you on the Juno win, another one to add to your collection. How exciting is that?
It's unreal. Actually, it feels a lot different this time around than it ever has. I think, being lucky enough to win a Juno early on in my career was an amazing experience. But I think it's like maybe a kid getting drafted to the NHL and winning a cup in your first season. You don't really realize the hard work that really has to go into it. So with all that being said, I'm really grateful to experience it this time around when I'm a little bit older and a little bit wiser.
Well, let's talk about the tour, Brett. You're in Peterborough now, and you have a number of shows coming up. How are things going, and what's it like to be back on the road with some consistent tour dates?
Well, it's great to be back in the saddle. There's no denying that. And I know my band is excited. My crew is excited. My family too. We're on the bus, which is really nice. My two daughters, Mila and Aria, they loved being on the bus. They lived on the bus actually for the first few years of their life, to be honest. But my two sons, obviously my newborn's never been on a bus, and my son Leo has actually never seen a concert yet other than a drive-in concert. So there's a lot of excitement coming from my family too to get back on the road.
Well, that tour, Brett, is going to bring you back to your hometown area for the Centerfield Music Festival. Lots of excitement around that. You and some special guests. How excited are you to be back, a chance to perform in front of your hometown?
Well, that's the show that I'm looking forward to the most. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've got some really incredible shows in the United States this year, one up in Alaska, or actually two sold out shows up in Alaska now. I'll play in Milan, Italy the weekend after Centerfield, but I kid you not, I'm the most excited for this hometown show because you know what? It's one that we wanted to do in 2020, couldn't do it. We thought for sure 2021, couldn't do it. But now we're going to make up for lost time with a big show on June the 18th here in 2022.
Well, Brett, as if you're not busy enough, you also are promoting Deuce Vodka, which is a company that you've created. Tell me about that venture.
Well, it's something I'm extremely proud of. Myself and my partner, Matt Doucette, he started it up in Big River, Saskatchewan, but he wanted to bring it to Alberta and he wanted to bring it Canada-wide. So we changed up the logo a little bit, and I'm really proud of how well this company is doing. We sponsor Brendan Botcher, who's an extraordinary curler. We sponsor Tanner the Bulldozer Bozer in the UFC. So it's really cool to see our logo, with some great athletes. But then also we're launching in the United States in the new year with some very, very exciting new partnerships. So the entrepreneurial spirit is running wild right now, up and down my body. It's really cool.
How do you balance all this, Brett?
Well, my grandpa, says, hey, hard work pays off and you can sleep when you're dead. So I just like to work and I love to chase my dreams. And it's really cool, both sides of the brain. The artistic side is really, really, working hard, which is awesome to be back in the saddle playing music. And then you got the business side going crazy right now for me, to be honest. And then I can just kind of sit back, pour myself a drink and cheer on my Oilers. So life is good right now.
Brett, you recently released a single with 98 Degrees, which is a fantastic song. How did that collaboration come together?
You know what? I give my manager, Jim Cressman, all the credit. He and Jeff Timmons of 98 Degrees and Nick Lachey, they've been friends for a while. So when I wrote the song called Ain't the Same, I sent it to Jim, just to review. Well, what he did is he texted it to the boys and said, hey, I heard you might be interested in doing some country music. What do you think of this song? And I kid you not, in 5 minutes, they got back to him and said, we're in, which means they didn't run it past label, producers, management, lawyers, anybody. They just said, we're in. And they went into the studio and they recorded it. The way that you hear it right now on YouTube or on Facebook or on Spotify, Apple Music is exactly as they recorded it when all the guys were together. They did that in one take. It just goes to show their level of commitment, professionalism, and talent.
Well, Brett, I need to ask you, Battle of Alberta, big game, obviously, coming up here. Give me your prediction, not only for the first game, but for the series.
I think the Oilers are going to stun the hockey world. Everybody's talking about Flames. Even Wayne Gretzky, an ex-Oiler, says he thinks the Flames are going to win. So the reality is I know the Oilers are going to win. So we're actually going to win it in 6. We're going to get a quick win tonight, and we're going to win 2 games at the Saddle Dome. We're going to win tonight in decisive fashion, and we're going to win in overtime game 2.
Well, Brett, always a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck on the rest of the tour. And I know we will see you in St. Paul when you're here in, I guess, just over a month.
That's right. See you on June 17th and 18th, and go Oilers! Woo!
Well, our day started off nice, and then those dark clouds rolled in. For more on our weather, here's Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much there, Jace. Now taking a first look at your weather forecast here in the border city. Yes, unfortunately, we saw a much warmer day starting off in the morning there, kind of from around the morning to noon in the afternoon, and then it started kind of getting a little more of a cloudy overcast there throughout the day, and now we are seeing some drizzle that will be starting off here in the border city. We are still seeing that double digit though at 14, so we are still seeing not too bad of a warm day today, so hopefully everybody's still going to get out there and enjoy it and go catch that first game of Oilers tonight. Now switching over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan. On the Alberta side, we are seeing some warmer temperatures on this side compared to what we have been seeing earlier on in the week. Most spots are going to be seeing around 14, 15 degrees over on the Alberta side, 12 over in Vegreville, while it's 17 up in Bonnyville. Edmonton is slightly cooler, just seeing 11 degrees. And as we go a little bit further down, Wainwright is just hitting that 13 mark. Switching now to our Saskatchewan side here, they are seeing those double digits as well. Slightly warmer compared to the Alberta side and only in some spots. Most spots are seeing around 16, 17 degrees on the Saskatchewan side, 14 up in Meadow Lake as well as down in Maidstone, 15 in St. Walburg as well as down in Macklin, and North Battleford is right at that middle mark there at 13. And for North Battleford, they will be cooling down to that 6 mark for their evening low from 13. So they won't be cooling down too much. They will still be seeing those plus temperatures for their evening low. They will be seeing that precipitation start up in their evening that will continue on throughout the night into tomorrow, where they will be seeing a much cooler day at 9 degrees. For Cold Lake, they'll be cooling down to that 7 mark, so seeing a nicer temperature for their evening low, but they will be seeing that rainfall start up as well and continue on to tomorrow. They will be seeing slightly warmer at 12 degrees, and they will be seeing some slight drizzle throughout the day. And for us in the border city, we'll be seeing that 7 mark. We will be seeing a nice warmer temperature. We will be seeing that drizzle and precipitation continue on through our evening. And unfortunately, we will be cooling down tomorrow at 9. But don't worry, we'll warm up right again after tomorrow. But we will be seeing a more gloomier day tomorrow with a little bit of drizzle throughout the day. And looking at your 3-day forecast for here in the border city, as I was saying, we will be seeing a slightly gloomier day tomorrow. We will be seeing it kind of slightly on Friday as well, but we won't be seeing as much rainfall on Friday to start off the long weekend. And then we'll be warming up there for Saturday just in time for the long weekend, seeing 13 throughout the day with a mix of some sun and clouds. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
.230 student athletes across Canada have been named Canadian Collegiate Athletic Association Academic All-Canadians. 6 of those are Lakeland College Rustlers. Evan Kenny has more.
A new Lakeland College athletics record has been set. 6 Rustlers have been named Academic All-Canadians, breaking the old record by 2.
You know, once again, it just shows that our kids are getting it done in the classroom, but also in competition. And it just continues to show how much our athletic programs here at Lakeland are growing and improving.
Rogan added, "This is one of the toughest awards to win. Student athletes need to be selected to a conference all-star team or be selected as an all-star at their conference championship or at a CCAA championship. As well as being a top athlete, recipients need to maintain a minimum 3.5 GPA.
Our coaches are, putting some pretty high expectations on our student athletes here at Lakeland, and they want them to excel in everything. because when they leave Lakeland, we want our student athletes to go on and have careers. They end up walking out of here with a diploma or a degree or a certificate, whatever they're pursuing. And then hopefully when they're moving into a different community or they stay in Lloydminster, they're not only going to be working in one of the businesses, but they're also going to be helping maybe coach a group of young kids and helping them become the next wrestlers of the future, basically. So
Out of the 6 winners, 4 are with the soccer teams, while 2 play women's volleyball. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us here this week. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. This is another episode of Healthy, Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie, last week we had a chance to dig in a little bit to talk about the employment pension plans. So if anybody didn't get a chance to see that, can you just recap some of the things that we went over?
Yeah, Stacey, there's so many aspects to this, and there's a few more points that I thought would be really helpful for our viewers. So first, let's do just a really quick recap. And even if people did see it last week, it's so complicated. Let's dig right in. So we went over last week, there's 2 different kinds of pension plans for employment pensions. One's called a defined benefit pension plan, and this is the formula-based pension. The defined contribution pension plan is a pension plan more like an RSP, where it's contributions made during a period of employment and then interest earned, which creates the value for the pension. We also talked then about how to value pensions, and then also the importance about getting that pension value estimate from your pension administrator.
Well, let's talk about that now, Stephanie. So once you've received the pension value estimate, what is the next step?
So when you get that document, there's going to be a pension value right on the form. It might have different wording depending on what pension plan that you're under. It could be called a total entitlement. It could be called commuted value. There's a variety of different wordings. Now, the number on the form is not necessarily the value of the pension, so we can't just stop there. It's the pension administrator's estimate of the value based on certain criteria and assumptions that they make. It has nothing to do with that individual member's circumstances. My recommendation is always to get a pension actuary involved, and that's a person who has a particular expertise in valuing pensions, and they take not only the assumptions that the pension administrator made, excuse me, but they also take the individual member's circumstances. So that's a more reliable way to determine the value of a pension for the purpose of division of family property.
Stephanie, are there any restrictions on dividing pensions between spouses?
Well, there's a couple of restrictions that former couples are going to want to consider before finalizing their agreement. So the first one is the maximum amount that can be transferred to a spouse from the member spouse to the former spouse, according to the applicable legislation. And then the second one is the way that the pension division can occur. So it's not just whatever the spouses want to happen can happen. There's some rules and restrictions around it. So let's first talk about that maximum transfer issue. So for that defined contribution plan, that's a simple one, of course. So typically any amount that spouses want to transfer from the member to the former spouse, typically that's allowed, so up to 100%. However, for the more complicated one, the defined benefit pension plan, it's going to depend on the legislation under which that pension plan is regulated. So it could be 50% that's allowable, it could be 100%, but it really will just depend, and it's important to know the legislation that you're dealing with. Now, that second limitation is how the transfer itself actually occurs. So let's go with the simple one first, defined contribution pension plan. So this is typically the spouse who receives the funds. The non-member spouse who will receive the funds usually receive that by way of a locked-in retirement account. People might know that as a LIRA. So that's where you get a lump sum that you can transfer to a financial institution of your choice. For a defined benefit pension plan, of course, it's always more complicated when we have those ones. So it's going to depend on those pension rules again. So some pensions allow the former member to choose between whether they get that lump sum or whether they actually become what's called a limited member of the pension plan itself, and then they can receive that monthly pension income when retirement occurs. So of course, so much involved: valuation, division, how do you work with these pensions? It's always really important to get some really good advice really early on so that you're making the best decisions that you can.
Okay, Stephanie, and as you said, there is obviously a lot of information on this subject. If people are looking to have it maybe broken down for them or they have questions, what's the best way to reach you, Stephanie?
Sure, it's always a good idea to take a look at our website, Henka Divorce, Henka divorce.ca. Lots of great information about the kind of services that we offer, and then they can always call our office a simple way, 780-875-2234.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you so much, and we'll be back to chat with you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Today we have Dr. Alice Wainwright Stewart, the president of Lakeland College, and she is here today to talk to us about the expansion of the vet tech and the healthcare aid program at Lakeland College through the funding from the Alberta government. And so thank you so much for being with us today, Alice.
My pleasure, Thomas, and we are quite excited about this new expansion for our two programs. So first of all, I want to identify for our veterinarian, those of you who've been following this know that there is a lot of need in our vet tech program. And we had 255 students on a wait list for 96 placements. So that is amazing for us. And of course, that's why the government has looked at some of these. They see the need and they are looking at and expanding where there is need. So that's one area. And so we'll be looking at that as an expansion in the vet tech program the following fall. And then in our healthcare aid, another area that is in great need of educational professionals to work in the healthcare field. And that will, that expansion is for 111 seats over the next 3 years in that program. And we'll look at expanding our Lloydminster area to other communities within our Lakeland region.
And so, Alice, tell me how getting more seats for the program is going to help in terms of revenue and expanding the program and getting more people into the veterinarian field to help out in a field that is a little bit in need, especially in rural communities.
For the vet tech program, the extra revenue helps us to ensure that the learning experience for these students is right up to par. We looked at expanding our online this last year and it still didn't cut it. So being able to have these extra seats and bring in more students will give the veterinarians in Alberta an opportunity to have more students within their clinics, ultimately more employees within their clinics, which is short, which they need that. But also what it does is for in these rural communities, this is where we're really looking for rural sustainability and for providing students that are trained in the rural regions, they're more likely to stay within those rural regions. So if you look at the announcement from the government that came down on campus, they really looked at the expansion in the north rural region. So that's 400 seats between Portage and our Northern Lakes, or not our Northern Lakes, but our Keano schools. So we are being able to look at healthcare aid, healthcare in particular, and those in the rural area to be expanded. And hopefully we'll have those students stay within the rural area.
And so in terms of the healthcare side, the more seats, what specific positions are these seats fulfilling and what kind of programs are they fulfilling and how the expanded seats are going to help out the healthcare program as well?
Yes, it's a variety of healthcare areas. For Lakeland, it's particularly the healthcare aid. I know for Portage, they're looking at practical nurse. I know up in Keano, there are other healthcare areas that they're looking at expanding to meet their needs as well. So it's really looking at that whole healthcare area in the rural areas to provide extra opportunities for education, to be able to be trained in your region, to stay within your region, doing your practicum, and ultimately, hopefully working within the rural regions.
Overall, all this expansion to these two major programs with Lakeland College, how is that going to help the greater part of Lakeland College, and what do you guys see the future of Lakeland College being with these programs expanding?
Well, as you know, over the last 3 years that Lakeland has doubled their and at one point tripled their ag program. So we're looking at continual growth in the ag sector. And one of the areas, if we look at what's happened within our health area, our health and wellness area, that area has been a growing need for the region, as well as will be a growing area in healthcare aid for our institution. We've spent a lot of time ensuring that both of those areas, they're highly regulated. They have accreditation processes that have to go through. So the rigor is a lot. And what happens for our institution is it provides making sure that we have the tools in place to ensure that our students are getting the quality education on campus, that when it comes to writing those provincial exams, that they are well equipped to be able to go out and pass their exams so that they can work in the field.
Thank you so much for the interview, Alice, and all of the very important information for Lakeland College.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us for our first hour of Primetime Local News. That's all for now. Our second hour continues next.